All right, Melissa May,
Hello.
what topic did I give you for this week?
Well, this week's topic is incest.
Were you floored when I gave you that topic?
I was like, I hope no one looks in my search history on my laptop.
Welcome to my world on everything that I research for
Yeah,
these podcasts.
it's been fun from hitman to incest.
But I do have to say, quick primer. This is going to lead into some Valentine's Day episodes. Hopefully, I've got those coming up. Hopefully, we can record them in time. We'll get back to you. It's the holidays, man.
It is. It's after Christmas.
Yep. We're gonna do our best. Okay.
We're trying.
All right. So, topic of incest.
Yes. So, do you know what region has the most incest?
I mean, I'm gonna go with the South of United States.
No, Westeros. I'm so glad you got that.
I'm a nerd. Of course I did.
Oh, yeah, King's Landing. But no, in all seriousness, less than 1% of first and second cousin marriages in Western Europe, North America, and Oceania, 9% in South America, East Asia, and South Europe, and 50% of regions in Middle East, North Africa, and Asia.
50.
50. United States is not in here.
What? But everybody makes the joke, so
So don't
that's an
make fun of
Alabama
the
cousin
South.
or. I mean, okay, we live in the South, so I
We're in the South.
probably should.
But we're not as bad as the Middle East.
50.
That's a lot.
But they have such a high population that is unacceptable. Like you've made.
It's just normal there.
Hmm.
So on that note,
Okay. Okay. Just gonna look at some tea mugs here.
not America.
Just in case you didn't realize, we record in my basement, and my husband is a tiki mug collector, and so I've got a lot, and they bring me a lot of joy because I look at them and they give me um
A palate cleanser.
it definitely. So check out socials and you'll definitely be able to see when I say I'm going to just look at a tiki mug, I have a lot to look at. But
I'm
all
gonna
right.
look at your what's the clown guy? It.
Oh,
Your it one.
Pennywise.
That's the last.
Shut up. All right. So, on to today's episode. We're going to go with quote unquote consensual incest.
That's about what all mine were in my
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Maybe some arranged marriages.
Which, I mean, again, fine line, and I'm not against.
But what about all you island people in Ireland who don't have a choice?
She says that because
I'm staring at her through her soul.
so my genetics are very Irish. My family is very we're from a very small fishing village in Ireland. And we're recently immigrated to the United States. And if you look at my genetic profile, I have this thing, it's called a homozygous variant allele. And so homozygous means you get one from each of your parents. A variant means a mutation that happened in that one little section of your DNA, which is kind of rare. And so this mutated DNA came from each one of my parents. And so that means my parents at some point in their history were also related. but it's fine. But we know that. I come from a very island nation. Most people, when they do like 23andMe and Ancestry, they have like, oh, I have 1% this and 15% this. No, 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 no. I have 75% Irish, 25% Polish. That's it. I have no other variations whatsoever. And by the way, I have also uploaded my genetics. So I have 23andMe and I did do Ancestry and I have uploaded it so that way you can use my genealogy for criminal investigations. Because if you're related to me and you committed a crime, I don't fucking care.
You're going down.
Pretty much. So just putting that one out there. Just because you do 23andMe or Ancestry or any of the other ones that you do, you actually do have to sign up to get your DNA entered into the database that they use it to either identify Jane or John Doe's, which we will be covering in the near future because it's been used a lot for identifications and for finding suspects decades later. And like I said, if you killed somebody and you're related to me, that's you problem. I work for law enforcement. What do you expect? Anywho, yeah, I'm using that word again. Anywho, we're going to talk about consensual incest. And I don't know what compelled me to find such depressing, brutal stories, but buckle up, buttercups, because this will not be easy. Now, I'm going to dip a little pinky toe into the topic before we go into the nasty deep end. So just be prepared. So, we're going to begin pretty recently in August of 2023 in Del City, Oklahoma, where Heather Gard or Garde was rushed to the hospital because she was unresponsive when she was checked on. By the time she made it to the hospital, she was deceased. It really took no time for the investigators to figure out what happened, and their assessment was confirmed when they arrested 18-year-old, uh, the 18-year-old victim's 27-year-old brother, Cody Gardy. He confessed that he and his sister were doing drugs at a park behind Townsend Elementary School, and they started having sex. He claimed that she wanted him to hit her, so he did that, and then he continued to hit her and choke her until she was so bad that he had to carry her back to her house to put her into bed. The next morning, when she wouldn't wake up, her mother took her to the hospital. Now, apparently, this wasn't a shocker because they had been having sex for years. Yep, while she was still a minor. In addition to him being arrested, police arrested their mother for attempting to cover up the fact that a crime even took place. His trial is expected to take place later this year in 2024. We are now, must be late December, early January. Still haven't heard of a trial taking place. Who knows? But as we all know, it takes a minute for this to happen, as I still have to testify on court cases from my previous job. But yeah, he claims consensual sex, but with drugs and alcohol, who knows? So that was our baby pinky toe. Hopefully that was okay because the rest are not. Okay. Next up, we're still in 2023, but we're flying over to Czerniki, according to Google Translate. It is the Polish word for blackberries, and that we're obviously in Poland. And so police went to the Giernosik home after some coworkers of Paulina, who was 20, became concerned. They noticed that for a while it appeared that she might have been attempting to hide a pregnancy. hmm And she was supposed to go on a 3-week holiday, but she returned after just 1 week. And she was noticeably thinner than when she left, and she was weak. Any one of us that has ever been around a pregnant woman that has delivered understands, yeah, you kind of recognize the signs of a post delivery person. I've been around a lot of pregnant women and a lot of people that have had babies.
I have not.
I have 8 niece nephews. So yeah, it's noticeable. And so the coworkers let the authorities know that they thought she might have secretly given birth to a baby that no one knew about. This led police to go to her home and they took her to the hospital to see if there was any truth to these allegations.
Her coworkers turned her in?
Mm-hmm. Because if you think, like, here's my thing. It's kind of like
It's like a welfare check, I guess, on the baby.
yeah, it's gosh, I don't know how to say this without like the song going through my head, but the prom night babies.
Yeah.
You kind of got to like give the call, just be like, I think there might be something wrong and that you have to go check on this because if I don't say anything, I'm going to regret it. It's better to regret like saying something and having the investigation take place than to not say something and have this go under the radar and people get away with whatever may or may not be
Yeah.
happening.
Typically, it's a family that's, doing that. I've never.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I've just had real shitty coworkers in the past.
Mm. We'll leave that at that because
We can all relate.
let me just shuffle my papers while I ignore that. Because, yeah, she's had some fucking shitty coworkers. Okay. Because besties talk about everything. All right. So, police had gone there taken her to the hospital, and the doctor agreed that she had recently given birth. And the police asked her again, or asked her, like, you obviously had a baby. Where is the baby? She said, the baby's in the basement.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So police went back to the home and they went to the basement and they noticed a foul odor coming from it. And this was kind of a ramshackle basement. And hopefully I can get this on the socials. There's pictures of it. And when I say ramshackle, it's like, it's
I'm
obviously
picturing a crawl space with a dirt floor.
I was like, don't picture the basement that we're recording in because we are recording in my house's basement.
This is a nice basement.
Yes. It's like a dirt floor
Yep.
and like it's brick walls, but the bricks are kind of like haphazardly put up kind of thing. And then it's like you have like
Probably the flooring studs are showing.
yeah. Okay, so you're
Just
getting
unfinished crawl space, basically.
it.
Ugh.
But like more than a crawl space. It is a full basement. But picture it crawl space basement.
Yeah.
And so they go down there and they're like, ugh. And so, yeah, it was made of crumbling brick, dirt floor. And so they did find a decomposing baby down there. But they decided to go further. And upon further inspection, they found two more babies down there.
Where are these babies? Just laying there?
They were wrapped in plastic and they were buried in shallow graves. The babies did not appear to be stillborn. It was murder.
Yeah.
Now, looking into the background of the family, there were 12 children between Peter and his wife, Hannah. So Peter is Piotr, not like normal Peter. Hannah died in 2008. She was only 38, and it was a sudden illness. Her hair was falling out. She was weak. She had to be hospitalized, and then she died. Now, locals thought that she had been abused by her husband during the marriage, and it was quite possible that she actually knew that her husband was sexually assaulting their daughters.
Peter?
Mm-hmm. Police continued to dig into the background, and they discovered that the family had been reported to social services 5 times prior to Hannah's death. It's either Hannah or Hania, and I don't want to get it wrong, but it was reported both ways. So maybe I'll switch to Hania because that was more common. And Peter he was having sex with his daughters, or that's what was reported. He was quite flagrant about it with his daughter Paulina, the one that kicked off this whole thing. They would hold hands in public and they would call each other honey, not father, daughter, whatever. She called him by his first name, not dad. And when asked, she admitted that they had been in a consensual relationship for about 4 years. That would have been when she was 16 and he was 50.
Oh, God.
Yeah. She was not the first. He was actually having sex with an older daughter first, and that was what produced one of the deceased infants in the basement. Could there have been more? No one admits it. Both Paulina and Peter were taken into custody for murder. She on 2 counts because of the 2 other babies. He on 3 because of the 3 total babies. I'm saying it like Moira. I can't ever stop saying it like Moira from Schitt's Creek, where it's Bebes. I don't know why it brings me joy to say it like that in such a tragic story. So I apologize if my little bit of humor is annoying. Um, they were both actually charged with incest as well. The townsfolk are hoping for mercy because, like I said, this just was 2023. So they're hoping for mercy for her because they believed that her father groomed her to be his surrogate wife.
Yeah.
And 6 months before the arrest, he shaved her head in an attempt to thwart any other men looking at her in a sexual way. Yeah. It's he did everything he could to control her. So regardless of what you might think on the other end, yes, she gave birth to a baby. There was like a whole other backstory, but it was all hearsay, so I just didn't feel the need to include it. But it's like the baby was crying and he didn't like it, so he killed it, or the baby was sick and so he just let it die. It doesn't freaking matter. There are 3 dead babies all in the basement of Peter's home, and they were all incest babies.
Yeah.
So trial hasn't happened yet, and I don't know what happened to any of the other children because, like I said, there was 12, and I'm only accounting for 2. Again, we're just dipping toes in. I'm easing you into the ocean, if you will. Like we're now at like the bikini line, not quite at the belly button.
Once you get past the crotch is the hard part because that's when it's really cold.
No, it's the belly button.
No.
It's the belly button.
No.
It's the belly button.
It's been a long time since I've been in water.
I took you to the lake this year.
Yeah, but that
Last year.
It was warm.
Anyway,
It's the belly button for me.
Oh, it's the belly button for me. But anyway, I've got you at the bikini line. Okay, I've got you with thighs. So staying across the pond, but we're going to jump over to England from Poland, and we're May 24th, 2019. Police responded to a home in Shire Green, a suburb of Sheffield in South Yorkshire, England. And there were reports about 6 children in a home. Sarah Barris, 35, messaged a friend who then called police saying Brandon, her husband, 39, killed sons, Tristan and Blake, and was trying to kill her and the rest of the children. Yeah. We're already like, oh, fuck. But wait a minute, Brandon's not the husband. We'll come back to that. Either way, when the police arrived, they found Sarah, her half brother, Brandon Machen. I have to report both because they're both pronounced on Google. They were related through their mother and 4 of Sarah's children. The children were all under the age of 13. They appeared ill and they needed to be taken to the hospital. When questioning Sarah about where the oldest 2 children were, Sarah said, "Oh, they're at a neighbor's house." We have a problem though. Because while they were asking her, one of her 4 remaining kids that were under the age of 13 said, like, he didn't say, he started miming to the police officers, strangulation. I'm doing this to Mel. And Sarah goes, "Stop."
Yeah.
To the kid. But the police saw what they saw.
Oh my God. They're so honest.
They're children.
Yeah.
Which is why when my nephew called me fat, I cried.
That was like Thanksgiving or one holiday, right?
It was. I went into a bathroom and cried for quite a while. And I'm like, I am.
That's why I don't like kids.
They're very honest. I'm not saying I'm not fat. I'm just saying I didn't want to hear it. So Again, we laugh as palate cleansers. All right, so after he made the motion of strangulation and Sarah told him to stop, they discovered Tristan, who was 13, and Blake, who was 14, with plastic bags over their heads.
Oh.
They were rushed to the hospital, but they had not survived. Both Sarah and Brandon were taken into custody, and they both confessed to what they did. Sarah was upset to learn her children might be put into the child care system, and she couldn't handle that, so she decided to kill them instead. 6 children, and she was like, better than going into foster care.
No, it's not.
Now, why were they to have been taken into foster care? Because there was an alleged sexual assault about Blake and later Tristan on one of their younger siblings. And so it was like bringing up like this whole thing. Social services went to the house to talk to Sarah, and that was when she thought the house of cards were falling down, her carefully kept secret, and the children's biological father, who she had told everybody was dead, was not dead, but was actually her half brother, Brandon. Yeah. He put up a farce that he was just a loving uncle who was helping his sister with the children. He even had a house of his own in Burngreave, and that was just a few miles away. So he would stay in his house, Sarah and the 6 children in theirs, and all 6 children were his. So brother, sister.
The Lannisters.
Yep. Well, half removed. This all came to light when the reporting ban was lifted from their trial after sentencing and all their confessions, and we found out all the information. They said that Sarah first grabbed pills from around the home, the ADHD meds, and she forced the 4 oldest kids to take them. And when the kids didn't die, she started searching online for other methods, and she developed a new plan by calling in Brandon to help. She killed Tristan with her dressing gown tie, strangling him, and Brandon killed Blake, who was just 14, by manual strangulation. The boys then had plastic bags placed over their head to ensure that they were suffocated. She then ran the bath and attempted to drown one of the younger children multiple times before grabbing all the kids into the bedroom, where she then started texting her friend at 7 a.m. And that's when the friend was like, hey, you got to go there, Pops.
God.
Yeah. So they both confessed, and Justice Gross presided over their sentencing, and he gave them both concurrent life sentences for 5 counts of attempted murder and 2 counts of murder with a minimum term of 35 years. Good. So pretty much both of them are going to be in prison for life, as it should be.
She didn't think she was going to get away with that, did she?
She did.
Come on.
She did.
So dumb.
Mm-hmm. They all, the fact that criminals are dumb is what keeps me employed.
Yeah. But come on. Where did your kids go?
After that depressing story, let's go on to the next one, because this one is so wild. If you've ever seen SNL with Stefan, where he's like, we have midgets, we have lighting, we have blah, blah, blah. I feel like that right now. Okay. We're going to pause for a second while Mel looks up Stefan SNL.
Oh, on Weekend Update?
Mm-hmm. Because we have torture, we have murder, we have dismemberment, we have incest, and we have drugs.
Let's go.
Literally, I did what my script says. Here we go. It's almost like we're best friends. All right. Yeah, I have to do that because this is into Valentine's Day, the time of lovers.
There.
Larry Paul McClure Sr., 55, was arrested September of 2019 and jailed for failing to tell West Virginia authorities that he had moved to Kentucky. Why, you may ask? Well, that's because he was a convicted sex offender. You have to register when you're a convicted sex offender. Larry was convicted July 22nd, 1998, for first-degree sexual assault for abusing a family member who was between the ages of 6 and 12, according to West Virginia's sex offender registry. He had two daughters at the time, Amanda Michelle, who was 9, and her sister, Anna Marie, who was 10. Gonna allow a pause for you guys to connect alleged dots. He was sent to prison for 17 and a half years for this charge of child molestation, and his daughters were placed into the system. Amanda was adopted by Alan and Gwen Holm. I couldn't find out what happened to Anna, but don't worry, we're going to find her again as an adult.
Oh, no.
After Larry was arrested for failing to change his address, he decided to tell authorities about another crime that he took part in: murder. When Larry was released from prison, he reconnected. I'm sorry, this is obviously before the murder. After the child assault charges and his prison stay for that finished, he reconnected with one of his daughters that he was estranged from. And at this point, Anna had a couple of children of her own. She was 33, living in Boone, North Carolina, which I've been to there. Have you?
Yeah. My parents are on the western part of North Carolina, so I know that area.
Have you been to that little cute town, the vintage historical town that's there? I took my dad there.
No.
You gotta go next time that you visit your parents. It's so cute. They have like somebody dressed up, and you get to see recreations of log cabins there, and like how they lived. Maybe it's just me. I love history, so woo!
I've been in Chimney Rock. That's where the Native American jumped off the rock.
I got nothing.
Yeah.
I got nothing. I mean, our people so connected and so not.
It's so far away.
All right. So, no, I could not find out who or how many kids that she had or if they were even still married. And then there's Amanda, who was 31. She was dating a man named John Thomas McGuire, who was 38. Amanda and John were on a road trip that would eventually wind up in Alabama so he could see his sick mother, but their vehicle broke down in Indiana. So Anna and her father, Larry, went to pick up the couple, his daughter, Amanda, and her boyfriend, John. And the couple was apparently coming down from a methamphetamine high, and they really wanted more, like really bad. And they tried to make their own. So they got the ingredients to make a new batch, but the batch was like bad and it wouldn't crystallize.
Yeah.
Again, Breaking Bad. If
Right.
you've ever seen it.
Well, they probably over the counter Sudafed.
Yeah, and I worked narcotics for a couple years. Forensic scientist narcotics. Again, I tested them. I didn't do much else. But liquid meth, it can be regular meth that has yet to be crystallized, which, you could, I'm not going to give pointers, but anyway, it can either be
meth cooking tips.
It's not, I'm not going to be that person, but it can either be meth that has yet to be crystallized in order to allow it to be passed through the border, or it could just be a bad batch that will not crystallize. And this is really pertinent to the murder that we're going to be talking about. And that's why I'm spending a little bit of time on it. And so the bad batch, they decided to actually keep it just in liquid form because it wouldn't crystallize. And they kept it in a couple mason jars, a la moonshine, but worse. And I mean, moonshine. Woo! Love that stuff. So starting at this point, we have some various accounts of how everything went down, but I'm just going to pick up on what was the general consensus because as we all know, I do research for, as many Google pages as pops up, I'm going to research it. It doesn't matter. But even though there were variations, I'm going off of what the majority was. We're going to go off the majority. So it was Valentine's Day 2019, and it was 10 days after the group got together. John bought a bottle of wine for the four people, Amanda, Anna, and Larry, and they decided to have a good dinner of steak and potatoes at the house. Larry was renting a house at 11715 Sky Gusty Highway in Sky Gusty, West Virginia. Just seems really funny, Sky Gusty. But Anna at this point said that Amanda and her father, Larry, had gotten into the habit of stepping away and whispering to each other. Eventually, they convinced John to play what they called the trust game. And that involved allowing those with you to tie you up. And there's not exact details of the minutia of what happened, but he was tied up. He did agree to be tied up. And then he was struck in the head by Amanda while he was bending over to untie his feet. So he was tied up. They did their thing, and then they untied his hands. He bent over to untie his legs that were tied to a chair, and then he was hit over the head. And Anna claimed at this point Larry told her that if she knew what was good for her and her kids, she would follow his instructions. So Larry's her father. At this point, according to Anna, she said that Larry and Amanda were accusing him, John, of being a federal informant. He denied it. And from here, things went bad, from bad to worse, if you will. And the family started to torture John by hog tying him with a rope around his neck. They said that they would inject him with truth serum, but in reality, they injected him with a bad batch of liquid meth twice by Anna. From there, Anna was told to strangle him by pulling a rope tied around his neck while Larry was standing on his back. He was officially dead 2 days after the torture started. And he was then placed in garbage bags and they dug a grave to put him in. February 15th, they posted on John's Facebook, "Job completed. The Firefox is dead."
Oh my God.
In another one, "Haha, the Mad Hatter." Another one, "You are expletive, just like Firefox, and you will all end up the same way. Ha 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 ha." Yeah. So John Thomas McGuire, aka Bama, was reported missing June 2019 by Angela Erickson, who was the mother to his three oldest children out of 5 total. Anna then said 2 weeks later, Amanda wanted to make sure he was dead, so they dug him up, dismembered him, drove a nail or a stake or something else into his body before burying him again. By this point, Larry and his daughter Amanda were in a sexual relationship, and on March 11th, 2019, they traveled to Tazewell County, Virginia to get married. And Anna was the quote unquote reluctant witness. Yeah. From there, Anna went to North Carolina and severed ties with her sister and father, and all was quiet until he was arrested September of 2019. And then he confessed to everything. John was dug up September 24th, and his family finally knew what happened to their loved one. Larry did not want a trial, and he confessed, saying he just wanted it to be over with. He pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and was sentenced to life without parole. Amanda said she was manipulated by her father to murder her boyfriend, but she still pled guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 40 years in prison. Anna blamed everything on Larry and Amanda, but she also pled guilty to second-degree murder, and she also was sentenced to 40 years.
Don't do meth.
I mean, and don't fuck your relatives. Maybe I shouldn't put it so bluntly, but come on. Sorry, I'm standing on Mel's mic. Okay, we're going to wrap up this episode of consensual incest. I keep saying consensual. That's in heavy quotes, just mind you. The next episode that we do on it will not be consensual in heavy quotes. Yes, there will be another. And this one is a case that I feel like most people may have heard of if you are a true crime aficionado. And it happened in 1995 when Stephen Walter Pledel, 20, met Alyssa Garcia, 15, online. And after a while, he convinced her to run away with him. When Alyssa was 17, she gave birth to their daughter, Denise. They were in Austin, Texas at the time. But all was not well because Denise, 8 months old, she believed that Stephen was abusing her. So she decided it was better for her daughter. So this is according to Alyssa, for Denise to be put up for adoption. She said that uh, Stephen would cover her mouth when she was crying and pinch her when she was crying. And he even put her in a cooler or an ice chest and closed the lid when she was crying,
Yeah.
only to be saved by Alyssa when she would like lift the lid and or take her out because she would suffocate by that.
Yeah.
So Alyssa made the decision to put her up for adoption, and that actually happened in 1998. Denise was adopted by a ready-made family, Kelly and Anthony, who went by Tony Fusco, and their daughter, Nicole Ann. They changed Denise's name to Katie, and she was raised in New York. Tony was born in 1961. He married Kelly Ann Gould in September 24th, 1983. He had joined the Coast Guard straight out of high school, rose to chief petty officer, and served for 30 years. He was also a correctional officer at the Federal Correctional Institution in Danbury, Connecticut. He even completed the Fire Training Academy, and after retirement, he worked part time as a security guard. He sounds like a few people that we know where they just can't stop striving and they just have to keep going.
Do all the jobs.
Do all the jobs and just keep going. And so that's a really good dad to be raised by. And when Katie turned 18 in 2016, she had graduated Dover High School. She decided that she wanted to connect with her biological parents. I mean, it happens. I know quite a few people that were adopted that wound up getting in contact with their biological parents, and it either went for better or for worse. Sometimes the parents were like, no, I put you up for adoption and I want nothing to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
And other times, the adoptive parent gets quite attached. Seen that happen before, and they were like, no, 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 no. I don't want this. So keep that in mind if you're adopted and you reach out to your biological parents. You could get one extreme, the other, or somewhere happy in the middle. In this case,
Definitely scary.
yeah. In this case, it was not really a happy in the middle, and we'll get to that. Because Alyssa and Stephen, the original biological parents of Katie, aka Denise, they stayed together and married in 2016 or 2006, and they had two more daughters. But Stephen didn't exactly change his behaviors with the children, but she did keep these two daughters regardless of any abuse that was happening. We're just going to reserve any judgment that may be happening.
I know, I'm biting my tongue.
I mean, all right. So Katie now has tracked down her biological parents through Facebook, and they were happy to hear from her. And at the time, Katie was working as a freelance artist, and she was really well known for drawing comic strips. And like all the people that knew her knew that she was really awesome at drawing them. She loved animals. She had a knack for drumming. And Alyssa, her bio mom, was a supervisor at T-Mobile. Stephen, her bio dad, didn't seem to be working. Like, what? Alyssa and Stephen had her move in with them because they were like, oh my gosh, we're so happy to reconnect with you. Come, like, reconnect with us. And with their two daughters in Virginia, so they could get to know, like, she could get to know her sisters. But things started to get a little bit weird because Alyssa, who already had one foot out the door at the time of this contact, uh, went leaping out the door when she found out that Stephen and Katie were getting a little bit too close for her comfort. The last straw was when she caught Stephen just constantly sleeping on Katie's floor of her bedroom. Imagine your dad sleeping on your bedroom floor when you're 18. I know your dad.
Not happening.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So Alyssa was like, yep, we're done. I'm going to leave the house. I'm taking the two younger daughters And that was November of the same year that she had contacted them. She was shocked, however, when 6 months later, through her daughters, she learned that Katie was pregnant with Stephen's child. She was pregnant with her bio dad's child. How'd she find this out? Because the kid kept a diary. Alyssa read the diary. The diary said, my sister slash stepmom is pregnant with my dad's child. Yeah, because they were now calling Katie stepmom, not sister. Yeah. By this time, however, the couple had faked papers so they could get married July 20th, 2017, in Parkton, Maryland. And there was a photo of her adoptive parents that were present that day. In response, the adoptive parents said that they felt there was nothing that they could do to stop what was happening. So they just wanted to support their daughter's choices. Their child, Bennett Kieron, Kieron, was born 2 months after the marriage, and then they moved to North Carolina, September 1st, 2017. Alyssa was shocked to say the least, and she decided that she didn't want her younger girls to have contact with their father anymore, so she filed a protective order, and she reported the incest that brought the law to Stephen's door. This is the culmination effect kind of thing. So the couple was arrested January 27, 2018 for incest, adultery, and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. They were not to have contact with each other per judge order, and Bennett went to live with Stephen's mother. Katie moved back in with Kelly and Tony, her adoptive parents, and then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, she would visit her grandmother in Waterbury, Connecticut. This is of note because it may have been just what Katie needed, because while waiting for the prelim to happen, that was supposed to happen April 23rd, 2018, she started distancing herself from her bio dad. Like she was no longer, I don't want to say under the thrall, but there's no better word for it. But she wouldn't make it to the prelim because she called Stephen on April 11th, 2018 to tell him their relationship was over. She was not getting back together with him. And Stephen went to his mom's house the next day to grab Bennett, told her, she broke up with me, and he was going to bring Bennett to her in New York.
Oh, it's not going to go well.
Bennett, their baby. What happened next?
Like this.
No, you shouldn't.
Don't want to be here.
So everything that happened next was discovered kind of simultaneously. Stephen hadn't taken his son to New York, and instead he killed the baby in the house that he had shared with Katie. He then went to Katie's parents' house, and after Tony and Katie had loaded up their truck to do the drive to the grandmother's house as normal, Stephen started to follow them based on surveillance footage. When they stopped minutes later at a light, stop sign, doesn't matter, Stephen opened fired with an AR-15 type rifle. Both Katie and Tony died at the scene. Stephen then left his minivan running, called his mother, said what he did and that she should call the cops to his house to find Bennett. He then shot himself in the head. The kids are like his daughter, his daughter's bio dad, their bio child, and him all shot and killed because of an incest charge.
Yeah.
His sister Nicole married Hi Carol in 2022 with her mother Kelly walking her down the aisle, and she seems to be staying off the radar since. Her two bio sisters are doing the same. Alyssa continued with her life, returning to her maiden name, and tried to be public about what others could do if they found themselves in the same situation, trying to figure out what to do with an incestuous family. Like, what else? I'm like speechless when it comes to all this stuff.
It's so tangled.
Oh, what a tangled web we weave. When first we practice to deceive.
Don't do that.
Yes. So that will kick off our lovers season, February.
Yeah. Happy Valentine's Day.
I don't want to say I hope you enjoyed it, but you'll get more. All right. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
The views and thoughts expressed in this podcast are ours alone and do not represent the thoughts or opinions of anyone else. The information presented is for general information purposes only. We are not liable for anything you do with this information.